Rooster Creek Quilting in Holt Summit, Missouri is your one-stop shop for all your quilting needs and more. Their specialties include great customer rapport to assist you with finding that perfect fabric, notion, pattern, pre-cuts, and embroidery supplies. Rooster Creek also offers professional long-arm quilting services and classes and much more. Don't wait for the rooster to crow. Visit Rooster Creek Quilting at Holt Summit Plaza, Holt Summit, Missouri. It's a great place to go for all your quilting needs.
Greetings once again, everyone. I'm Rick Jey, your host today for Quilting Inside and Out, where you get the scoop on the world of quilting. Today I have some fantastic guests, young ladies from Columbia, Missouri, Stover, Missouri, and Jefferson City. This is coming to you from the city of Jefferson City, Missouri, the capital city. Today is September 12th, 2018, and I've been looking forward to these interviews for a while now. So join me if you would as I give you a kind of an overlook. I'll introduce to you first Miss Alice Leeper of Columbia, Missouri, who will share with us her experience as a quilter and her association and spokesperson today for Boonslick Quilters Guild of Columbia, Missouri. And it's Columbia upcoming, should we say, quilt show that'll be taking place this fall in the city of Columbia. And also, we meet Miss Sonya Bird from Jefferson City, Missouri. She's a beginner in the world of quilting. Sonya is really new to the quilting world, but is an avid craftsperson. So she has a little bit of something in the crafts field to share today, but she's really getting into quilting. So it'll be interesting to talk with her. Now in the second, our third guest, in the second segment after we take a break, we'll be turning to Miss Lora out of Stover, Missouri, who's going to share her world of quilting, which will coming to you in a different sense. She's more of a planner, a designer of patterns, etc., as you can identify with. So stay with me. We're going to now turn to, if you will join me, to Miss Alice Leeper of Columbia, Missouri. It's great to have you here as a guest on Quilting Inside and Out, Miss Leeper.
Thank you.
Well, Alice, if I may call you by your first name.
You may.
Thank you. Please tell us a little about you and those highlights of your life that really best describe Alice Leeper.
Well, I come from a long line of quilters. My grandmother quilted, and that's what got me interested in it. And so when I decided that I was ready to retire from my original job and move back to Columbia, I got involved with the Quilt Guild here.
I see. Now you speak of moving back from...
I lived out in California, in the San Jose, California area for about 20 years, and then moved back to Columbia, which is my hometown.
Oh, excellent. And do you have family?
I do. My mother is still living, and I have a brother and a sister and their family here in town.
I see. Oh, excellent. Well, great to have you with us today and to share some of those that interest, what interests you in life. Your level of education, may I ask that? Because we're looking at professional ladies nowadays. We just had the mayor on a program here at JCTV, Spotlight on the Arts. She's a mayor. So, you seem like a very well-educated business type.
Well, I actually have a bachelor's degree in chemistry.
Oh, wow.
I worked as a chemist exactly 1 year.
I see.
And then I got into the marketing side of the electronics industry. And so I worked in electronics for about 29 years.
29 in marketing. Now that is another field that a lot of people don't understand. So it really takes a professional. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Would you like to say any shout outs to anyone specifically by name? Shout outs to family or friends or
No.
Quilt Guild members?
Just the Quilt Guild in general.
Okay.
As you mentioned earlier, I'm with the Boonslick Trail Quilters Guild, and this is our 40th anniversary.
The 40th year
40th
anniversary.
Yeah, the Quilt Guild was founded in 1978, and although my mother wasn't one of the original founding members, she joined within the first 2 or 3 years. So we've been associated with this guild for a long time.
Yes, and you're one of the originators of the guild.
Bettina Havig.
Bettina Havig has been with us on 2 or 3 occasions now on the program. We were always honored to listen to her input. But you, you're here as a spokesperson today. But I'd like to ask you directly how you became first inspired as a quilter.
Well, as I said, my grandmother quilted. She quilted out of necessity, but also, you know, as an outlet for her artistic.
Therapeutic, maybe a little bit.
And so I grew up with her always quilting, and then when my grandfather became elderly and couldn't stay on the farm, they came to stay with my parents here in Columbia, and at that point, my grandmother needed diversions, and so she was quilting queen-size quilts, hand quilting, a new one every 6 weeks.
Oh my!
So my mother got into making quilt tops just to keep her mother occupied. Because at that point, my grandmother didn't really want to make tops. She really just wanted a hand quilt, and that woman could crank them out.
And I just had a lady request the other day while I visited your meeting, requested a hand quilter. She wants to make contact with a hand quilter. So I handed that number
It's a real skill.
Yes, it is. Now, I remember tying as a child with grandmother and mother, tying the quilts, the old type. And so I'm learning more as we go. Well, that leads me into the next question. I always like to ask a question, how you would identify yourself. We have quite a few verbal, I guess, descriptions, but also one verbal, I guess, and quite a few, shall we say, noun types. The verbal being the quilter who runs the machine, long arm, what have you. And then we have some that only like to piece, someone like to cut, someone like to iron.
And some of us like to collect fabric.
And some like to collect. That is true too. Well, I think that takes a talent also, I guess.
I like piecing quilts. I piece
Piecing.
by machine, not by hand. But I'm also a working realtor, so my time to work is kind of limited.
I see. So you more or less a piecer, put it together and then let someone else handle it from that standpoint. Well, everyone has their favorite piece of work that they call their favorite. Sometimes we surprise ourselves with different completions of such matter. Can you describe or share with us, our viewers, that one or maybe a second quilt that you'd like to share with us today that has become one of your favorites?
Well, I didn't bring any of my own personal work with me today. I did bring a couple of items that are going to be in the upcoming quilt show, which is October 5th and 6th here this next month. This first one is a tree skirt, Christmas tree skirt, that was made by one of our members, Barb Sanders. It's going to be in the silent auction. And then our Redwork Guild, Redwork group, as part of the guild, made this quilt, which will also be in the silent auction. So the one thing about quilting is there's such a broad range of styles that there's something for everybody in a guild as old as ours with such diverse membership.
Yes.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because I meet ladies that want to get into it, and they think they have to identify with a certain area of expertise, you say. And I think some of the quilts are so intimidating even to me, I have done a couple of quilts.
Right.
And I see some of these at the shows. They're just fantastic, especially like this piece that we just shared with the viewers, and this one also. Now we have applique in the hoop. We have embroidery in the hoop, quilting in the hoop, which you'll see at a show coming up soon with Miss Barbara Wineland, who's will be demonstrating that. So what would you say to a young lady, even like Sonya with us today? Sonya's a beginner. Those words of inspiration just to begin. And how would you how would you start? Invite them to a meeting?
I would invite them to a meeting, come with a friend, and just show up and listen, because everybody's got their first quilt in the closet somewhere. And believe me, it's not nearly as elegant as what they're doing now, you know, because you got to start somewhere.
I can understand that. I have a quilt that actually my show dog I was using at the dog shows to lay him on. He become identified. It was kind of like his blankie, and that's what he would lay on, getting ready to go in the ring when he's only a year, 10 months old. All of a sudden, I asked my sister. I said, Where's the beginning on that? She says, I made that for my oldest son, and I put the wrong batting into it. That's why it's all clumpy. But I said, he should probably wants this, clumps or not, because it wasn't the batting. This was done about 1966, 67 probably. Well, come next Monday, she will be delivering that blanket after it's been cleaned to that oldest son. So she started, but now she does some beautiful work. So you've got to start someplace, and don't be intimidated by this beautiful work. You'd be surprised. Even at the meeting I talked the other day about sometimes you make a quilt and you don't even realize what you've accomplished.
Right.
And I've run across that many times too. Well, tell us now in more detail what's going to happen at the Balloons,
Balloon Slick Trail Quilters Guild.
Slick Trail Quilters Guild, coming up October 5th and 6th
Well,
in Columbia, Missouri.
We do a quilt show every 2 years, and this is our 2018 show. It's going to be at the Broadway Christian Church. It is on a Friday and a Saturday. Normally we do it on the weekend, but this year it's a Friday and a Saturday.
I see.
And it's October 5th and 6th. We have right now about 110 quilts that have been entered. We figure we'll have closer to 150 by the time the show rolls around.
Oh, my.
And the range of style and complexity is very broad. We have people that like to do small, wall hanging type works. We have people that like to do full bed quilts. You're going to see it all. We have a marketplace with crafts that you can buy. Some really, really nice things. And then, as you see here, we have a silent auction area where Guild members have donated handcrafted quilt items to the silent auction. So it's really worth coming. And we have a very small cover charge. It's $5 to get in, and it's worth coming. It really is.
Excellent. So this is the 40th year.
It's the 40th anniversary.
There's also refreshments, I understand. Will you have vendors this year also?
No, not this year. We have in the past had vendors. Our shows vary from time to time on the size and the space and stuff, but this year we're having the silent auction marketplace. We will have a voting on viewer's choice quilts,
excellent.
so that's kind of fun. You can choose your favorite. And just come and see the styles, and then if you like it, come to our meetings.
Super. And those meetings are held on the...
we have a daytime meeting that's held on the first Monday of each month, and then we have an evening meeting that's held on the first Thursday of each month, because we recognize that not everybody's retired with lots of time on their hand. We have a lot of working ladies.
Right.
And earlier you were talking about styles of quilting. A lot of younger quilters are into the modern quilting style, and they shouldn't be intimidated by the fact that we're an old guild, because we have people that have styles all over the map. including
Excellent.
art quilts.
Awesome, yes.
So-
And that's, the membership is up in the 200 member?
You know, I forgot to check and see what our current membership is, but yeah, we have always had a pretty steady membership.
And as you said before, it's a variety of beginners, mediocres, what have you.
And
you pick up so much.
Right.
The meetings, before the meetings, you have sew time.
Yes. Oh well, and in the
Presentation.
daytime we have a sit and sew on
okay.
the Monday meeting. In the evening we don't, but we generally try to have a speaker. Sometimes it's going to be a professional that'll come in and do a show. Sometimes it's going to be another quilter from somewhere else in the state or in Kansas that brings their trunk show, and that's always fun because then you get to see what they have.
Sure.
We sometimes do skills workshops. There's just a variety of
It's a
of
very
things.
interesting meeting. I am able to attend occasionally, and so I can vouch for them. It's just really an excellent organization, Quilters Guild. I guess I would want, if the viewers are interested, do you have a website they can go to and learn more?
We do, but you know the easiest thing to do is to
Yes.
Google
Google.
BTQG for Boonslick Trail Quilters Guild.
That's BTQG. So
Google
Get on
that and
Google.
it'll pop up.
excellent. Well, thank you, Ms. Leeper, for so much information. You've really been inspirational today, and I know people will look forward to put that on your calendar. Once again, that's October 5th and 6th at the
At the Broadway Christian Church.
Broadway.
It's 2601 West Broadway in Columbia.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
And being a part of Quilting Inside and Out, where you really get the scoop on the world of quilting. Well, our next guest is Miss Sonya Bird of Jefferson City, Missouri, a beginner in the world of quilting, but has a lot to share with you, how she was inspired not only from her standpoint as feeling confident in the world of crafts, but now she's stepping on in to the world of quilting. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Rooster Creek Quilting in Holt Summit, Missouri is your one-stop shop for all your quilting needs and more. Their specialties include great customer rapport to assist you with finding that perfect fabric, notion, pattern, pre-cuts, and embroidery supplies. Rooster Creek also offers professional long-arm quilting services and classes and much more. Don't wait for the rooster to crow. Visit Rooster Creek Quilting at Holt Summit Plaza, Holt Summit, Missouri. It's a great place to go for all your quilting needs.
Matchsticks, matchbox, matching tie to matching socks. You don't know why, but you're really special to match point, match game. You and I are not the same, but I can tell that you're really special to me. There is something I can give to make you laugh, to help you live. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me. We're the perfect match, and you're really special to me.
Over 1,000 Central Missouri kids are in foster care. Nearly 400 will age out of foster care without a forever family. You could be the one to make a difference. I'm Deanna Alonzo, former foster youth and executive director of the Central Missouri Foster Care and Adoption Association. Our organization supports foster and adoptive children and families. We are working to change the statistics for these kids. Be the one who makes a difference. Find out more at ccfosteradopt.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Quilting Inside and Out. There's more to a quilt than you really realize. On the outside, on the inside, and you'll learn it all right here as we give you the scoop on the world of quilting, as I'm joined by many quilters throughout Missouri and the area, for that matter. I want you to please welcome with me Miss Sonya Bird of Jefferson City, Missouri, who is with us today to share her beginning world of quilting, which has recently expanded her love of crafting into this new world of quilting. So Sonya, if I may call you by your first name, please tell us a little bit about you as I welcome Alice Leeper to the show.
Thank you, Rick. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
I am a mother of two, a wife, a full-time employee, but I also find time in that busy schedule to be a crafter, and like you said, just recently began doing the quilting and have found another love.
Excellent. Yes. Now, you say you speak of children. Would you like to say a shout out to those children?
I could say hi to Andrew and to Amber, and of course to my husband Chris. Can't
Yes,
forget him.
Can't forget him. I'm sure he's supportive of your ventures.
He is very supportive.
That's excellent. Well, can you share with us when or how you were first inspired to become a quilter? I know you have a twin sister, Tanya, who is really into quilting, and so I'm just wondering sometimes if she didn't twist your arm a little bit.
I think there at the beginning, I considered myself more of a crafter sewer. I could sew, but I did it on crafting projects rather than quilting projects.
I see.
And yeah, just a little arm twisting there maybe, and got that first quilt out. And
Yes.
after that, it's really become smaller projects, not quite as large or ambitious as what Tanya does, but
Right.
you know,
Little
you have
bit
to
at a
begin
time.
somewhere.
Exactly. Got to get your feet wet, as they say.
That's right.
Now, you talked about sewing for these craft projects. That takes some intricate sewing at times. So,
At times it does.
what type of crafts were you making?
Oh goodness.
Stuffed animals?
I've done a little bit of stuffed animals. I did some doll blankets and doll clothes, and I also do scrapbooking, and card making is one of my true loves, is the card making.
Oh, I see.
But that reminds me a lot of piecing a quilt, because you're taking pieces of paper and you're putting them together in a design the same way you would take a piece of fabric and make it into another design, and it just a different medium.
A different medium, and basically you're piecing just as you'd piece a quilt.
Exactly.
As Alice shared with us. So you're putting together your cards with different. Now, do you do your own artwork?
I do not. I use a lot of
Snip and cut?
stamps.
Stamps? Oh, stamps.
So,
I see. Excellent.
Stamps, and then it's just the way you arrange it all together.
Excellent.
Would-
Well, that gives you a basis. I'm looking at it again from an artist standpoint. Once you learn to lay out a card or a project, your colors, your values, positioning, depth, what have you, I could see that would be a great introduction from crafting and having that knowledge and experience to take the step into.
It truly has been.
Oh,
because
excellent.
you learn those basics
Yes.
with the paper, and you know, thank goodness there's always two sides to a piece of paper.
I see.
And you can
Yes.
perfect that a little bit better, and then you can move into your fabrics,
Yes.
which will give you, according to how you're piecing it or putting it together, will give you a whole separate look. It's just the creativity of people who do these quilts is just unbelievable.
Yes, and you're going to pick up from the Rooster Creek Quilt Guild.
Yes.
You're picking up a lot of different techniques and a lot of help there, actually. Also,
They're fantastic
They're very
help.
supportive of these quilt guilds. It's just remarkable. It's like a brotherhood in a sense of a male sense, or sisterhood, should
Yes.
I say. And you do have some men that love to quilt. So I guess I wasn't wrong. Sisterhood, brotherhood.
Exactly.
So, excellent. Now, does your husband get in helping you?
No, he's more of a gadgets guy, the electronics and computers.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, we kind of narrowed that down somewhat, and I would like to ask you, then how would you, at this point, identify yourself? As one of the nouns, a piecer, iron, one that irons, one who lays it out, designs.
Well, at this point, I'll have to give you a little story, kind of.
Okay.
Tanya, my twin sister, avid quilter,
Yes.
but I do not believe she likes to iron. So I get the call, and I come over, and I iron for her, and she sews, hands me a piece, I'll iron it, and we just keep the little wheel going around and around, and she'll eventually have a whole quilt made that's been ironed.
Oh,
So
you do have to have
I
your
do
ironers.
have. That's right.
Now, when does that turn into making your own quilt?
When she says, I have too much to do right now to help you. I'm like, oh, but you can do it. I
Yes.
said, okay, well, if this doesn't turn out, we've only me and you to blame.
There you go.
So, but it's not always been perfect, but in the end, there's always a product there, a finished product.
Yes. And it's yours.
And it's mine,
Whether
correct.
it's the best or not, it's still yours. It's one of
still
those
mine.
that you can hang on to. Well, I really want to thank you for coming as a beginner to inspire others to begin again, as Alice did.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Okay.
It's a good,
Well,
it's a good field to be into.
Well, your favorite piece of work, then sometimes we surprise ourselves. Have you completed a quilt that already you're feeling great about?
I have, and it's been a simple quilt. It's called the Carpenter's Wheel,
Oh, I
but
see.
I made it in colors that are outside of my normal realm of what I work with,
I see.
and it happened to be my husband's favorite color. So it became a Christmas gift for him.
Oh,
so
excellent.
it's there every day to be seen. So, you know, it's just, at first I was like, I'm not sure. But it has slowly become my very favorite one.
Well, you know, Sonya, I look at you from your experience as craft. There's what they called, you might help me on this, Alice, where they take pieces of fabric and develop an art scene.
Oh, art quilts?
Art quilts, where they take even pieces of wood and et cetera, and make a scene, but most of it is fabric. Have you thought about?
I have thought about that, but I just haven't felt comfortable yet enough
Yes.
to move up that next step.
Right.
But I do see it coming.
So it's in the back of your mind,
yeah.
on the back burner.
Yes, it's back there
That's
floating
good
around
to hear,
a
because
little
I
bit.
really see you. When you first shared with me that you was in crafts, I thought, oh, I bet you'll end up being a quilt art.
I can see
Quilter.
that coming along. Maybe.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let's see. The whole summit is coming up. Rooster Creek is coming up with a September 15th retreat,
Yes.
and you'll surely be there. And can you tell us a little bit of what happens at a retreat?
Well, I've only been to one retreat,
I see.
but I know this one is being held at Rooster Creek there in Summit Plaza and Holt Summit. And it's basically kind of like an old-fashioned lock-in where you can come in and then you just stay as long as you would like, or as long as someone who has a key would like. And you just work together or separate. You just work on whatever design or quilt that you're currently working on, and it goes, I believe, Friday, Saturday, and I'm not sure about Sunday.
So you're locked in for 3 days. Do you have
Pretty much.
housing and bunking? You
They
bunk up,
prefer
or-
that you go home to sleep, but
Oh,
you know,
nice.
I'm sure there's some been sleeping at their sewing machines.
Oh, I see. I think I can picture that too.
Yeah, you get that little head nod every once in a while.
Oh, excellent. Well, do you have any words of encouragement for a beginner that you'd like to encourage at this time?
You know, the best that I received was just don't be afraid. The quilt may look intimidating in the front, but if you was to take that quilt apart,
Yes.
the pieces are just pieces until you start putting it together.
That's true.
And then it becomes a work of art for you. And I was told, just don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Just simply jump in there and do it.
Excellent. Well, Ms. Bird, Sonya, thank you for being my guest today. I've looked forward to this, and maybe we can twist another arm, Tanya, one of these days, and see if she will come on and share her avid quilting world with us.
Yes.
It needs to be. It's a story that should be shared. So, thank you so much, Sonya, for being here.
It's been my pleasure, Rick.
Thank you. Well, our next guest is Lora Dale out of Stover, Missouri. A guest I've been looking forward to interviewing also for quite some time, having a great relationship with a sister also, Vi. That's our sister's name, Vi Dale. And so she's coming up next with words of inspiration and what it's like in the world of a quilt designer. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Rooster Creek Quilting in Holt Summit, Missouri is your one-stop shop for all your quilting needs and more. Their specialties include great customer rapport to assist you with finding that perfect fabric, notion, pattern, pre-cuts, and embroidery supplies. Rooster Creek also offers professional long-arm quilting services and classes and much more. Don't wait for the rooster to crow. Visit Rooster Creek Quilting at Holt Summit Plaza, Holt Summit, Missouri. It's a great place to go for all your quilting needs.
Morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did? Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
Hi, I'm Dave with the American Red Cross Heart of Missouri chapter. The American Red Cross is a humanitarian organization, and one of our missions is to meet the immediate emergency needs of our clients who have experienced a fire, a flood, or storm-related disaster. We have trained volunteers and staff who can respond to emergency calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The American Red Cross Heart of Missouri chapter is always there when you need us. Find us online at www.redcross.org/HOM and like us on Facebook.
Welcome back to Quilting Inside and Out. With me is Miss Lora Dale of Stover, Missouri, who is with us today to share her world of quilting in a somewhat unique fashion, as Miss Dale is known as a basic quilt designer, assistant, and helping people develop, put together, design, what have you. A quilt is, from my understanding, but she's going to cover that really well. She will share with you how she takes a quilt pattern and assists those clients in questing and turning your quilt pattern or of choice into a masterpiece. And they are masterpieces. I've seen some. We have a couple in front of us here. So please turn with me to Miss Lora Dale. And greeting to you, Lora. Great to have you here today. Thanks for making the trip in.
You bet. I'm delighted to be here, and thanks for having me.
Well, you're sure welcome. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this. Well, if I may call you by your first name, Lora, please tell us a bit about you and those highlights of your life and your world of quilting that best describes Lora Dale.
Well, I've lived in Stover, Missouri all my life.
I see.
I went to college a year, found out that really wasn't for me, and bought a restaurant, ran it for a year. I'd always waitress, and that was a lot more work than I wanted. And my parents were into the quilting business. They had purchased it in 1973, and I kind of grew up with it. I think I was 13 when they bought New Style. So I decided to go to work for them, and my husband also. We built the machines and traveled doing quilt shows and setting up machines and working the business. And we moved to a new location later on and got bigger and bigger, and we got more into fabrics and patterns and books. And so I love what I do.
Yes, great. Now, your family's been in quilting for a number of years, since 18...
Well, it was established in 1876, and they were the 5th owner of it. It was in Kansas City, and they moved it to Stover. So
excellent.
they purchased it from a gentleman there, but it was started actually in 1876.
Now, you are just recovering from a flood that we all heard about recently in Stover.
Yes.
So you're really working to get the store or the shop back open.
Yes.
And you're also a big part with sister, if I may mention, Vi, for Vivian, I believe it is.
Yes.
And you may recall the name associated with the fall gathering and the spring gathering in Stover that draws people from all over the United States, it appears.
Yes.
So you have a lot of energies not only put into your store, but also into the gatherings in Stover.
They have a spring one, and then they have one coming up. It's called the Christmas Gathering, which will be November 2nd and 3rd.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, great. And that's Stover, Missouri. So put it on your calendar.
Yeah.
You're the first to hear about the December one.
Yes.
Getting the scoop here once again. Well, you have family. Would you like to say a shout out to husband and children, nephews?
I have 2 boys, Jeremiah and Isaiah. I have a lot of great friends and family, and yeah, they're wonderful.
Greetings. Okay, super. Well, how was you first then inspired, should we say, to become a designer? And you might clarify for the viewers, I see a designer as differently than maybe you do. So
Probably.
How did you become
Well, since I don't really sew, which a lot of my customers find that very hard to believe.
Yes.
I just don't have an interest in sewing. I would have to sit down to do that, and I'm very energetic. I like to be up and about, and I like to be busy. I mean, I love to dig in the dirt, and I love being up on my feet. And I never enjoyed sewing. My mother was an avid sewer, but I just never did like that end of it. But I love putting things together and creating things. And I found over the years, as people were coming in with their patterns and ideas, they needed help. They needed someone to give them a little direction and maybe show them something a little different. And that's where I really started getting into, call it designing. I did do some patterns, but I really got into trying to take a particular pattern and making it look very different than the person who actually published the pattern. Not that there was anything wrong with what they did, but I'd like for my customers to be able to look at that project finish through seeing something different than what they were looking at.
I see. So basically you're more of a creator,
yeah,
if we could say. Well, Lora, could you share with our viewers just what is involved in the, should we say, assisting, creating, designing of a quilt from your perspective, and how you arrive at that perfect creation or idea?
Well, I generally either find a fabric that I see that I am I like a lot, and I start with that. Or if there's a particular pattern that I come across that I'm really intrigued with, I start with that. So if I start with my fabric, I pick out my focus fabric, and then I go find a pattern that accommodates that, and then I choose the fabrics that go along with that. Or if I find a pattern, I go try to find fabric that I think will work with the pattern. And that's usually how I do it.
Well, you mentioned a key word, I think, a focus.
Yeah, your focus fabric is usually the one that you're going to see that you want to see the most.
And
probably.
you assist ladies and gentlemen coming into your shop that has this fabric. You help them pick that fabric, maybe as a focus fabric, to get started with, and then you take it from there. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because we all have to have a focus point in any type of art or creation, I guess, that we. So that's a nice way of putting it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and it is just how you look at things, you know.
Yes.
And it's harder when someone comes in with just a couple pieces of fabric and they don't maybe have their focus and they want you to try to pick 10 fabrics to go with that. That's always a little bit more of a challenge, but it can definitely be done. Right. And everybody has a different way. They'll collect fabrics from different shops. So you have to kind of take what they have and try to make it work with things that you have in your store. But usually you can always make it work out.
Right. And so you've really taken this as in a field of expertise in assisting people with their creations and putting them together. You really work hard at that. Where sometimes you go into a store and they say, well, here's a nice fabric, you pick one, we'll sell it to you. Right. But you really get involved
it takes
with
time.
that
Yes.
person.
It takes a lot of time to assist people. I can spend hours with one customer.
Oh, I can
imagine. I mean, really.
I can see your dedication even.
Yeah,
yes.
and you have to be willing to do that, and you have to be eager about what they're doing, but you have to always keep in mind that they're taking the quilt home and you want them to be happy. You want them to like what you're picking out, because we all have different ideas. And it really goes down to opinions, you know. My opinion on this quilt is just my opinion. Somebody else, this quilt was shown in florals. So see, I didn't want florals. So my opinion was to make it look like this. But it didn't mean the florals didn't look good, it just wouldn't have been my cup of tea.
Right, so florals, it's a different, should we say, topic to discuss as far as medium.
Right.
Now, everyone has their favorite pieces of work, and you've brought 3 pieces you'd like to share as they're completed here. And your theory behind putting these patterns together and the reasoning behind different maneuvers that you've put together here, which they're beautiful, Laura. This really is fantastic. So go ahead and give us a little bit of input and schooling on what's taking place in front of us here as you hold these up to the camera.
Well, my objective of making samples is to sell people kits.
I see.
So I have a kit that I sell for this. So I make the samples up to show people to see if they want to like my sample enough to buy the kit and go home and make it just like I've done it. So all 3 of these items I brought today are things that I sell kits for them. So I do it from 2 different angles. I do it because I enjoy seeing how I can create something, but then I also do it so I can sell people kits.
Sure, yes.
And for an example, this particular pattern called for, I think it was 4 or 5 different fabrics in these strips. 4 different fabrics, 4 or 5. So I take one fabric. I chose one fabric instead of picking out 4. And it's the way we cut it.
Oh, I see.
So you cut it, and you can use it, all that one piece of fabric for what they're calling for 4 or 5
and
pieces.
we can hold up that
yes.
and let the camera see somewhat how that comes together.
And I do this a lot with fabrics, where I'll take one fabric if they call for 4 or 3. I will try to take one fabric where I can cut it and use only one piece of fabric and get that same look, or sometimes a neater look.
Yes, I can see that it really comes together.
You have to learn to look at the value of what your fabric is. When I show this to people, and I tell them what it cuts, you know, you have to see in your mind, how is this going to cut up?
Yes.
Well, I cut this lengthwise because that's what I needed for this particular pattern, but I've also taken this pattern and cut it into like diamonds, and it's gorgeous. Just the array of colors that you get.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And what design is this called? Is this something
This is a log cabin cross.
It's
a very new pattern that's come out that's really pretty.
And you have this available?
Absolutely.
At your facility.
Yes.
Now the one underneath
yes.
is another story.
This is one where in the pattern, the background fabric was basically white. Well, I used a batik that has very much of a print on it. So if you would see this pattern, actually see it, it would look very different because of just the background being so much more busy. You know.
I see.
And that's hard to talk some people into. They'll say, oh, that's too busy for a background. But then you've got to make sure you've got to make sure that you keep these other pieces strong to where they pop.
Right, I can see that as an artist, that your background is, like a lot of times you do, cross strokes and brushing to get a nice background that you can't really identify with because your foreground objectivity is there.
Right.
To stand
so you have to keep in mind,
and highlight it and accent it.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind if you use a busy background, then you have to keep this more solid.
Yes.
You can't get it all busy or else it just gets lost.
And that's where you're there to assist on those decision making.
Yeah, you got to learn how to make your fabrics pop.
Okay.
Same way with this one. And now this is a technique that everybody I'm sure that's watching is familiar with, but it's called fussy cutting, where you take the focus fabric and you cut out the design and you place that into your blocks to where it's just not cut up.
I see.
So that's called fussy cutting.
Fussy cutting.
And there again, this particular pattern, I think called for like 23 fabrics. why I narrowed that down to much less than that, because I didn't like all the busyness of it. It was too busy to me.
So less fabric,
yeah.
less time.
Just repeat your colors
a
a
great
little more
production
often.
at the end.
And some ladies get frustrated when they have to pick out 20 or 25 fabrics. It's overwhelming.
Good
So
point.
you can minimize that and still have a beautiful quilt. And sometimes I think things there again get too busy. And sometimes you want that busyness like in a scrap quilt. But to me, in something like this, I think the less, the better. And I find that especially newer quilters are not so overwhelmed when you say, well, you don't have to pick out 30 fabrics. Let's pick out 10. We can make this work, you know. So that's the fun of that.
Right. Now, we're going to step from quilting and design assistance and creativity, but into the creation of a beautiful dress. Now, your dress with the fabric is really excellent.
This is a dress, and then
you have
went a step further and made a purse to match it, and I had a little hat, but I couldn't find it today, all out of these fabrics. So this is just a fun thing. This is all quilted, and
so this is something you teach also, or help?
We're going to start doing more classes now that I've got my shop up and getting it better arranged. And
and that's
we have buttons, we have gorgeous buttons, we have lots of buttons, we have a lot of purse stuff. I've really gotten into the purse stuff.
Excellent.
The ladies love it. And this is what you put your cell phone in. This little thing that just sits right on your purse. So this is a fun little purse pattern.
Now this is a magnet closure?
Actually, this is just closes on this side, but on this side it's a button. Now I have the magnetic closures, and you could put one on there by all means.
I see. Beautiful work.
Yeah, I thought this was fun.
That is really just complimentary, and it's the same pattern, but look at this. It's
well, you know, ladies like to be noticed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you know, you do that. I took this to the doctor's office one day, and I bet you I had 20 people say, oh my gosh, I love your purse. Look, it matches your dress. Yes, that's fun.
That's an excellent idea. I think there's going to be people steal your idea of matching up.
That's okay. You know, go for it.
Well, good. Well, people speak of your skills, and so I wanted to make sure you were interviewed today. And so your shop, how do we get in touch with you?
Well, I have a website, I have email, I have a toll-free number.
Can you give us those?
Yes.
We'll put them up on the screen in the editing room.
Yes, the email is info@newstylequilting.com, and it's spelled N-U-S. Just make sure you don't do N-E-W, it's N-U-S. And then the website is www.newstylequilting.com. And my toll-free number is 1-800-821-7490. I'm going to get a Facebook thing going. I'm a little behind. I think sometimes I come over on the ARC. I'm always a little behind on things, but I'm getting there. And we're located right on the highway. It's very easy to find. So
that's beyond the cannon.
Yes.
A very few feet, I guess. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today. As I said before, I've wanted to talk with you, visit with you, chat with you as a part of the extended family there in the quilting world of Stover, because you all do represent the quilting world really well. And,
well, would you like to know something that's interesting?
Yes.
In 1974, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the right date, Paul Harvey did a thing on Stover, Missouri, and Stover, Missouri was the quilt capital of the world.
Oh my, according to Paul Harvey.
According to Paul Harvey. Now, quilt capital of, per capital.
Per capita.
You know, because we're only a town of about 1,000 people.
Exactly.
But we had like four major quilting factories there, lots of women in their homes that quilted. It was just amazing.
So if there's 1,000 people in Stover, 996 may be quilters.
They were quilting.
That's excellent. Well,
I don't know about that.
That's just my thinking. I just want to thank you again for coming, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Well, now I'd like to turn to the world of quilting, where you get the scoop, and I've got some scoop dates here for you to consider. The Ozark Peacemakers of Springfield, Missouri, have asked me to give the dates set for their upcoming 2018 show. That's on September 28th, 29th, and 30th of this year, 2018. So, but please check their website for more information, more details. They have a lot of goodies to offer. Cape Girardeau, Missouri will host their 18 quilt show, September 29th and 30th. And I'll be a guest there, assisting in another fashion. Ozark Hills Quilting Guild show will be taking place October 13th in Camdenton, Missouri. A lot of people are looking forward to that. Boone Slick Quilt Guild, we just talked about, October 5th and 6th in Columbia. Put that one on the calendar. And the Prairie Pine Quilt Guild of Mexico, Missouri has asked me to promote already their show in 2019. That's set for April 5th, 6th, and 7th, 2019, already coming at us. Please contact me, Rick Jey, at 573-645-4507, or Rooster Creek Company, our sponsor, at 573-649-4789, and give us the scoop on your world of quilting. If you'd like to be a guest, please get a hold of me. I would like to share what you have to offer and your experience in the world of quilting. And if your quilt guild has a show or an event coming up, let me know that so I can get it on the scoop portion of the show. So we're dedicated in the effort to getting the scoop out to our viewers here on Quilting Inside and Out. Thank you, JCTV producer Gloria Enlow and Marcus, who is the crew today, not only on camera, but in the control room here at JCTV Access at the Lincoln University. And thank you, our viewers, for joining us here on JCTV. Look for more Quilting Inside and Out, where you get the scoop on the world of quilting. It's all right here on JCTV Access. And don't forget YouTube. I'm Rick Jey saying thank you. See you next time.